Mr. Mosby, how many cars do you have in your fleet?
14.
How long have you been in business?
42 years.
How many full-time drivers do you have?
None.
So you don't pay any benefits to anybody. You have people who work for you.
Oh, no, they're on the payroll. I pay labor and industries and employment security on each one.
I'm talking about benefits. You
Oh,
don't?
no.
No benefits?
No.
So what you do is you pay them by check and you just take out their Social Security, their federal
Correct.
withholding, their state withholding. And how many hours a week did you work for the plaintiff?
It was part-time. It varied week by week. Some weeks none. Other weeks it could be up to 15.
Now, these people who work for you as drivers, do they sign an employment contract?
Yes, and
I'd like to see a copy of an employment contract. Mr. Mosby, it is your claim that the defendants, and they're a married couple, while working for you, damaged 3 separate limousines.
Correct.
She damaged 1, and he damaged 2?
No. She damaged all
2.
3.
She damaged all 3. Now, I'm looking at this at-fault accident form that you had her sign, which she signed on March the 10th, 2016, which says, I understand that if I am in an at-fault accident in a company limousine, that I will be obligated to pay the insurance deductible out of my own pocket. And if you've been in business for 42 years, you know what the insurance deductible is, correct?
Correct.
Why isn't that stated in here?
Well, we do cover it in our staff meetings.
No, why isn't it in the contract?
Well, because it could change. Years ago it did, but I kept it maintained one amount.
This, to me, is an unfair document because it allows you, if you wish, to increase the deductible to $1,000, $1,500, $2,500 deductible without notice here. So that anyone who signs this document and says, well, insurance deductible, if they're not smart enough to ask you what the deductible is. For instance, I wouldn't take a job knowing that if I were in an accident, you have a $2,500 deductible, and I would be responsible for that out of my pocket. Might I take one when you had a $500 deductible? Perhaps. So I'm going to make a very strong suggestion to you, sir, that you have a minimum and a maximum insurance deductible, which at most will be, and put a figure. What is the deductible that you've chosen on your limousines?
$1,000.
Your Honor,
Now, you could have chosen $500. Did you ever have $500 deductibles?
No.
Did you ever have any more than $1,000 deductibles?
No.
Well, you said it changed years ago. When did it change?
Well, I was referring to the premiums change. And
I'm
so
talking about the deductible.
Okay. No, the deductible has always been $1,000.
Okay. Now, let us say that Mrs. Landris, let us say she damaged 3 of your cars. When was the first damage, and what was the cost of that damage?
That was July 25th, 2016, and that amount was $3,191.
Okay, so that would mean she owed $1,000.
Correct.
When was the next one?
October 15th, 2016.
And what was that amount?
Well, there was 2 vehicles both on the same day. So one of them was $1,071.
So she doesn't owe you anything for that?
Well, yes, $1,000 deductible.
No.
Well, the bill was over $1,000. So I didn't turn it on insurance. So she owes the first $1,000.
Deductible.
Your Honor.
What?
He claimed to us that he never turned any of the accidents into his insurance.
That's my choice.
When? What?
That's my choice.
Well, maybe. When was the next accident?
The same day, October 15th, 2016.
And how much was that?
That was $3,350.
So on that one, she owes you $1,000. And you paid out of your own pocket.
The difference.
Therefore, nothing. Because you turn it into your insurance, she pays the $1,000, your insurance covers the rest, right?
But the premiums go up.
That's what you have insurance for, sir.
But it still would be my choice to claim
That's what you have insurance for. How much money did you take out of Mrs. Landris's pay?
$388.
That's incorrect.
I have the check stubs.
I'd like to see them. And do you have?
We do.
I'd like to see what you took out.
Their accounting wasn't the greatest. Even the amounts that they had listed on the sheet that was paid.
May I just see, please? What do you have? What is this from?
That shows the balance of what's left on the first vehicle.
I want to know how much you took out altogether, sir.
$388.
And that's in total from her pay?
Correct.
And then you fired her.
No.
Well,
Yes.
I mean, after the third vehicle, yes.
so you fired her.
Yes.
Although I didn't know.
Shh. Listen, stay out of big cars. Are they big limousines? Are they big limousines?
Yes, they are.
Then stay out of big limousines. It's evidently not your thing.
But I only damaged one car and not three.
Okay. Now, after you fired her, I want you to tell me the conversation you had with her husband.
Well, I went up to and met with Lynn, and
Just him.
yes.
You fired her.
Yeah.
Because according to you, you had enough somebody scratching up your cars. I see what you're doing is you're not claiming them on insurance. You would rather pay the out-of-pocket. Who does your mechanics work for you?
We have an in-house guy.
There's your problem. See, you always go like this. You scratch.
But they're paid legally.
Just after you fired her and you didn't turn these cases into insurance, and in case anybody didn't hear that, you don't send the cars out to be fixed. You have someone who works for you.
Oh, no. That was, you
There's
said
an
mechanical.
in-house-
But body shop-wise, I send them all out. I don't do that.
Well, then I'd like to see the bills for the 3 cars that you're talking about.
That's 1, that's 2. Okay. The first one is the first vehicle on July 25th.
What was the first accident that you had?
July 25th, 2016.
Tell me.
So it was a longer job. It was a few more hours than most of them are. It happened late in the day, so it was around 11 o'clock when I got done with the run and had dropped the people off and was taking the car back to the warehouse. I was tired. John does not. Okay, so I got to the warehouse and I went to back the car into the warehouse. There were 3 rows of cars inside.
So you backed it and you hit something.
No, I backed it in because I thought that there was room inside and there wasn't. As I was pulling the car out to park it behind the warehouse, I thought I had given myself enough room to clear the garage door, and I didn't, and I scratched the rear door and put a dent in it.
Okay, so you hit something.
I did.
And it was your fault.
It was.
How long had you been working for him?
Since March 10th of 2016 at that point, so for 4 months.
And this was the first accident that you've had?
Yes.
So you know you owe him $1,000 for that?
Well, my understanding was that the deductible was $500. The $1,000 came out not until he was telling me that I owed him that money.
What made you think it was a $500 deductible?
Because when I was hired on and had gone into his original business, Mr. Tux, to sign the paperwork, he was talking about the deductible being $500, and I said,
no.
"Oh, well, really?" Because most commercial businesses, their deductible is $1,000. I said that, but he's like, "No, it's $500."
You should have had him put it in.
You're right. I should have put it in writing.
Put it in writing. So that you owe him. Now, when do you claim the second accident was, sir?
October 15th, 2016.
And tell me about that.
Well, prior to that, she had been driving all summer, and she had 2 runs that day. A Navigator, which is not a limo. That's vehicle number 3. The large Escalade, which is a 14-passenger vehicle, was the second vehicle. She was having frustrations that day because she had lost.
Don't tell me what you lost. Just tell me about the accident. Tell me about the damage.
Okay, so each driver, as we've done that for years, and that'll be my witness, that they have to inspect the vehicles before they go out, or they're responsible for any
That's
damage.
not correct.
Well,
And
that would be
so-
smart. It would be smart if you looked at it. Go ahead.
That's right. And so the next run on the Escalade was Brad here, and he was doing his inspection, and that's when he found the side scrapes on the Escalade.
Okay. And did he report that before his run?
Oh, yes.
To whom?
Me.
When was that run?
Shh, shh. Don't-
The 18th.
3 days later.
But the vehicle didn't go out. Yeah.
Oh,
How do
that's
we know?
all right. That's okay. So it wasn't the same day. It was 3 days later.
Correct.
Just a second. And 3 days later, your cars are stored in your garage?
Correct.
How many cars are stored in the garage?
9.
And how many of the other cars went in and out in
None.
that 3-day interval?
None. I have a run sheet to show that there was no
So there
runs.
was no business
No.
conducted whatsoever between the time she brought the car back. Nobody was in
cleaners.
that unit. I'd like to see that. Business was that bad, I might close up my shop.
Your Honor, car cleaners go in and out of the shop. There's half a dozen people that have keys to get in there. If he's going to have them clean it, and there's the car that in the back, you have to pull 2 or 3 cars out.
Good. I'm glad you brought it out, I will ask him that question.
Thank you.
As soon as he finds
I think
a
you
run
already
sheet.
have it, ma'am.
Defendant tells me that those cars are routinely cleaned and that there are other people who have access to that garage for the purposes of cleaning the cars inside and out. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Now I'm going to come back to you. On the day that the first accident, when you hit the side of the garage door, that was late at night. I assume Mr. Mosby was not working.
He was not working at that point.
Just a second. Was anybody else working?
No, I was the only one at the warehouse.
When, if ever, did you report what had happened to Mr. Mosby?
I reported it the next morning because it was late that night and he does not like us to call. Okay.
You reported it the next morning?
I did.
In what method did you use to report it?
I called him, but he did not answer, so I sent him a text.
And you said to him, I had an accident with the car.
I said, I had an incident with the car, please call me.
And you told him what happened.
What he said to me when he called me was, yes, I know my grandson has already taken it to the body shop.
That's
But
not
you-
true.
That's what you told me.
Doesn't matter. She self-reported because she was responsible, right? Did she call and self-report with regard to either of the other two incidents where there were scrapes on the car?
No.
So one car was driven 3 days later and was in a warehouse during those 3 days where other people had access to the cars and had access to the warehouse for the purposes of cleaning either inside or outside of the cars. Now let's get to the third incident.
Okay, that was the little Navigator, which was the first run of that day. And another driver that the two of them together with Brad had discovered.
You can't tell me whether another driver discovered, sir. That's hearsay.
Well, and then they reported it to me.
That's still hearsay.
Well, then I saw it. I mean, that's when I went to view it.
Good. You can tell me what you saw. You can tell me on what date and tell me what you saw.
On the 18th, I saw the damaged bumper and fender.
And when had that car been driven?
On October 15th.
So, again, there was a 3-day hiatus between the time that the defendant drove the car and someone else showed you, and then you
The
saw
next
for
driver.
yourself. Whatever it was 3 days later.
Okay.
You should have someone inspect the cars immediately, sir, and not wait 3 days. And I assume that this third car was in the same warehouse situation where other people had access to it.
No, it's outside.
So that car is outside
Under a garage.
with how many other cars?
None.
So it sits all by itself.
Yes.
Is that correct?
The last time I saw it, it was in the warehouse, so
When you brought it back on the 15th,
I parked it in the warehouse.
No.
I did. I parked it in
well,
the
you
warehouse.
don't know that. That's what she's saying.
I was there. On the Saturday she drove, I got there. I was there.
You were not. You were driving back from California.
That's right, but I got there later in the day. It was in back.
She owes you, so far, $672. And that's for the first accident that she has, that she acknowledged she had, that she notified you had. Now, I would like to know why you thought that it was appropriate to dock his pay for her accident.
No, my agreement was, as I walked away, is if you want to pay off Kaylin's balance, which was $600 and some at that point, then you can continue to drive. So I left. Then he started taking runs. He kept driving. So that was our agreement.
How much did you withhold from his pay?
Nothing. He's been paid in full.
Okay.
He did.
I mean, I was taking 50%, but he called me and threatened me, said it was illegal.
It is!
Well, and that's why I paid him in full.
Did he pay you?
After he terminated me for telling him what he was doing was illegal, yes.
Not
Yeah,
true, Your Honor.
well,
He called and threatened me.
Just a second. He threatened you to report you for doing something that was illegal. He threatened to report you unless you gave him his money because you were doing something that was illegal.
He changed he changed the agreement that we had.
You're slippery, Mr.
No,
Mosby.
I'm not.
Yeah,
I've been in
little
business
slippery.
42 years.
Oh, yeah.
600, what?
612
388?
from 1,000.
Yes,
612.
612.
Yep.
Bert, I'm so glad you're here. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about your countersuit for wrongful termination.
Yes.
Because that's your counterclaim. You wouldn't want to work for him anyway. However, you don't have a written contract with him for a certain period of time. You're an ad hoc worker. Either he can keep you or fire you.
True, but
That's true.
In-
That's true. In My America, unless you have, and he's not discriminating against you based upon your race, your religion, your sexual preference, he says, I don't like you anymore. In America, you could do that. In America, not necessarily in some of these companies that are here. Here, you know, here they say, well, have to get you an appropriate chair, or we only need gluten-free snacks, or whatever, and we're going to sue you. But in my America, even though it may seem what he did was unfair, coming to you and saying, you've got to pay off her debt and you can continue to drive for me, it's slippery and ridiculous.
He was intimidating me.
It's slippery and ridiculous, but you don't want to work for him anyway.
Well, it's probably true at this point, but at
Right.
that point, you know, I needed the money.
And you owe him $612. That's it. We're done.
So that's not
Your Honor,
wrongful
what about the
that's not wrongful
counterclaim?
termination?
Just a second. I just dealt with it. You just
Okay.
heard it.
Yeah,
You
but
just heard
he
it.
He threatens to
Just
fire
a-
me because I won't pay her money.
Just a second. I just gave you a whole speech. Weren't you listening? God
I
gave
was.
you one mouth and 2 ears for a reason. I said, in America, you do not have a contract with him. He can fire you if he wants to. He can't fire you based on
I notified
your
him
race,
he was doing something
your religion.
illegal.
Did he pay you your money?
He did, but he
We're
fired
done.
me. So what about my future earnings that I could have had with him?
Oh, my God. This is an America I don't want to know about.